Like, you didn't even mention them. Like, the White House didn't mention them. I mean, no one's mentioning them. They asked one of the generals, like, can we get an update at the Pentagon? And he's like, I don't have one or whatever. I mean, It just shows that they don't care about these enlisted people. You know what I mean? It shows they don't care. And it shows that they don't understand what we're civilians. On the outside, what we care about. Like, we care about the missing Navy SEALs, you fucks. Yeah. Like, are you so stupid? They're in their own bubble. They come to this press briefing. They don't even know what the American people care about. Like, we see it on the TV. We wonder what the fuck is happening. Like, if they die, they die. But like, tell us what the fucking situation is. Be like, oh, we did 25 missions. We covered this many square, miles. Give us some fucking metrics or something, you assholes. Like, these people have families and kids and shit. And this general is just like, I don't know. I mean, fuck you. I don't like it.
Yep. Right there with you.
Hi, everybody. This is John back from Real Veteran News, here with my good old friend Marie Ballerini Hunyon, and I will spell your name right this time. Last time I got your first name misspelled, but that was a little typo. But we'll double check it this time. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Willie says, dear old friend, old lady, 52, just got out of the Army. I was a signal sergeant for 13 years and worked at Department of State at an embassy overseas, and met you at Department of State as a contractor about almost 10 years ago. My gosh. Woo! Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Cats.
Cats, yeah. I have 11 cats. 3 aren't mine. They're my daughter's, but 3 cats. Yeah.
I was living with some cats recently.
Yeah, they're easy to fall in love with. They're all rescues. I went to Kuwait with 2 and came home with 9, and then my daughter moved in with 2.
Cats. All right. So starting with the news this week, the first topic up for discussion is China's economy. China has had issues with its economy lately that everybody's been watching, and it's tough because a lot of times we're seeing a lot of this, is China a collapsing clickbait type stuff online. And so you got to sift through that a lot. But if you really look at what's happening now, and we got a few articles about the situation there, it does seem like they're heading into their first recession ever. And then the questions really are, how does that affect us and what else is going on? This is really driven by falling consumer prices, deflation happening in their country, which economists hate deflation and rich people hate deflation. Part of this problem is their 45% consumer savings rate, which is about twice what it is in the United States because they don't have social safety net, cultural differences. And my idea about it really is I think that these people are really traumatized by the COVID experience, the Chinese COVID lockdown experience. And so they are saving their money as much as they can, even more so than they were before that. So with consumer sentiment going down, they didn't really pop out of the COVID pandemic as well as the United States and other countries did. And we got the inflation that we're all feeling, but they're getting the deflation, which is even worse. Their stocks are at a 5-year low. Capital is leaving the country, so they need more investment, foreign investment in the country. They're kind of short on cash. And everyone who's investing is getting out of China because of their behavior and everything like that. Their strategy going forward is growing through exports. It's really their only way to do it is to essentially export their way out of this to bring more money into the equation. But the only thing that they're really strong on exporting right now are electric vehicles, solar panels, and batteries. So they'll be strong there, but I don't know if that's enough to support this huge country or to change this huge economy around.
I think that they tend to say that things are a lot worse than they actually are. They're not like the United States where we just air all of our dirty laundry and give everybody all of our secrets and so forth. I think they kind of psyop us in a way where they make it sound like it's a lot worse than it actually is. Now we see that their economy is dropping. It has for about 6 months now. There's a lot of changes. I think the Chinese citizens are they do see what's going on in America and around the world. They did see what happened with COVID. A lot of people don't believe it over there as well. That's just what the reality is. I have plenty of friends who are from China.
Yeah, so their economy looks worse than it has in a long time. They've been doing some interesting things, which leads me to believe that it's worse than what normally we would kind of be looking at these shifts and say, hey, is China at the end of this or whatever? But they've put limits on selling shares. So at the Shanghai and Shenzhen stock markets, they are giving window guidance, which is that the firms basically cannot sell more shares than they buy. So they can buy and sell shares, but they still have to have the same amount of money in the stock market, essentially. Because they don't want to just tell people not to sell, because then there'll be no volume on the stock market. But they don't want people like selling and just selling out of these companies, because these companies are down 20%, these tech companies. The benchmark stock is down 20% over the last 12 months and 4% just in 2024. And we're only a couple of weeks into 2024. And that's what they want to shore up. Is it's embarrassing. If one company goes down, one company goes up, then that doesn't really embarrass them. But when the benchmark stock was like all the companies starts going down, it's like the entire stock market is imploding essentially. But it's really it's their deflation, right? I mean, the stock prices are getting cheaper because money is not worth as much. They did this before in October, and when they did this window guidance, they got a 3% rise in that benchmark stock, but then they eased off of it, and now it's just going back up again. And their GDP this last year was 5.2% in 23, which wasn't very good. I also saw in articles where on their Chinese Twitter, it's called Weibo, financial analysts on there were saying that they were a little worried about the economy and stuff like that. And what's being said was that their tweets were deleted, and then they got messages saying like, hey, you shouldn't really talk about this anymore. And so they've kind of not doing this total censoring like they do, where there's a certain incident in one town and there's like a protest in one town and they wipe it off the internet. They can't really just wipe off bad sentiment about the Chinese economy off the internet. I mean, you can't like ban the word economy from the Chinese internet. So they kind of have to control these guys, these financial analysts, indirectly in order to get them to not badmouth what's happening, because they don't want it to get any worse. They don't have a lot of levers to pull. I know you said you think it's a bit of a psyop, but I mean...
I'm not there. It's really, I don't pay too much attention to what's going on in China, except, like kind of on a military front. But I think they have a lot of advantages. They're the biggest nation on that side of the world. China wants to gobble everything up. They want to own, they want to control everything and everyone. And the world needs to be paying attention and not just, China, and their people. And it's hard for them. They have billions of people. They have plenty of room. If they weren't, there's conspiracy theory in me, so I won't go there. They're a force to be reckoned with in many, many ways. And that's really all I know. Their economy, I don't really think it's as bad as they say that it is. It's the same everywhere as it is in America, though. So
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, okay, yeah, we're not in China. We haven't been to China. But the people in China don't really know either, because they don't have free access to information. I mean, there's some individuals in China that kind of probably know more of these top, communist people or these top business people. But the average person in China, I don't think knows much more than we do, other than maybe what they're feeling personally. Before we get into if this actually happened, what it would mean, one other thing that's really important is also pushing their problems here is their birth rate and their declining population. So they don't have deflation and a declining population. So it's kind of like, did we reach peak China? I mean, the Chinese population probably will never be as big as it was in the past now. I mean, it's going to be essentially declining, kind of like Japan. Right. And Japan has been dealing with this for a long time. So these Chinese women are rejecting motherhood. And the birth rate in 2023 is only 1.09 children, with knowing that the replacement rate is 2.1 per woman. Mm-hmm. And it's been dropping since 2016. They got rid of the one-child policy, which everyone basically acknowledges now. The one-child policy didn't do anything to curb the population. All it did was shift the balance between male and female babies. So you just have now way more males than females in this generation.
That was preferred. That's what they wanted.
They only get to have one kid, and then the kid has to take care of them when they get old. So it's one kid. I mean, in a misogynist society, you obviously would rather have a male. He can make more money. He's not going to get married into, you have a woman, she's going to get married into the other family. and she's basically gone. Yeah, I mean, they definitely preferred that. Well, the question with the trajectory of this, because their economics are rising, but they're also getting older, right? This balloon, this generation, this population that they have that's eventually going to get old that they really can't afford to take care of. It's like they have to get rich enough before they get too old where they can actually take care of these people. So there's not like a revolt, so they can maintain, and then they can kind of keep their trajectory as a leading nation. But if they get bogged down taking care of all these old people now, I mean, with advances in robotics, and they don't really care about people that much. I mean, can they get it to work? Yeah, maybe. I don't think China's going to go to the bottom of the barrel. Like, they're going to be the second most powerful country no matter what. They might be in a recession, but it definitely hurts their timeline for beating us down. If their economics are not in order, they can't really compete with us, even though we have all this bullshit and we're so stupid and we waste our money and we have the dumbest people in charge. But China can't really take us out without the economics. What do you think's going to happen if they do have a recession here?
In America?
No, in China.
Oh, in China.
Do you think it'll affect us?
No, I don't think it really will affect us. Maybe the people who order stuff on Temu. Honestly. No. I mean, half the stuff we get in America is made in China. Do I think it will affect them too much? No, I don't.
The normal people will feel the pain, but like as a nation, they'll still keep rolling. I mean,
yep, they definitely will. They'll just make things more expensive, and they really just don't care about the citizens of any country. Honestly, John, I mean, I'm seeing it as so blatantly obvious to me now.
I mean, do these other countries care about their citizens? Does our country care about its citizens?
No,
it's all run by rich people. I mean, honestly, I don't see that much difference between us and them. They have one party. We have two parties, but it's essentially one party. And they just argue in public.
Right.
They have two parties. They have Shanghai Party and they have like Beijing Party.
Right.
And they argue in private.
Right.
In their Communist Party. And they don't all get to vote and all that stuff in China. But I mean, that doesn't really matter. I mean, both countries are controlled by the rich. They're manipulating us through our real estate. They don't tell us the truth, and they extract from us and benefit. And honestly, I don't think that the government really cares. And now, if you take an individual congressman who just got elected, congresswoman who's like all high on their, electoral victory, and they're all gung-ho in Washington, D.C., and you talk to them, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe this person's all right or whatever. But like the bureaucrats, the bureaucracy, the people who actually control the government, they don't care. They care about themselves.
No, and the people who would actually effectuate any type of change are the new people who want to get in there that are all, as we say, hua. They, that they have to buy their way onto the committees, right? Republicans. If you want to be on a Republican committee, you have to buy your way onto that committee. And that's absolute bullshit. That needs to stop, because that's not getting the voices of America heard. It's getting the voices of the constituents that are selected by the people who pay the money, the elitists that are actually parasites, because they wouldn't make any money if it weren't for us anyway that they're feeding off of. Things aren't going to change until we start working from the very, very bottom level. And that's on a global level. We have to start worrying about the little town mayors and the sheriffs and, those people that were elected. I'm just like so frustrated with America, the world right now, because it does come down to money.
Everything's money, yeah.
It's disgusting. So, sorry.
Sorry. So, you do have I say it's the 85% and the 15%. 85% they just want the government to stay the same. They want the system to stay the same. They want to play within the rules, play in the system. 15% of people want to go the extra mile to like make it better, accomplish the mission, do it like in the movies, like what you really think about America, not like the bullshit they got going on the other side of the river. Those motivated people, it's not like the 85% just like kick back and be like, sure, go do it yourself or whatever. They like actively block, right? Like they're like impediments to things improving, you know what I mean? Because they're like, we don't want anything to change because we're happy the way we are. And we know it kind of sucks, but like if it changes, it might be worse for us. I was reading this book and it's basically called Government Run by the Employees. And we have the election and the vote, and same thing in China. Well, they don't really have it, but we have it, but it's like a facade, right? It's like a 50-50 split. We have two choices. They both manipulate us from one side or the other. They also control the media. So they control all the words that we're hearing and all the newspapers and everything. And they try to manipulate us and get the upper hand one time or the other. But like, we really don't have any say in it. You know what I mean? Like, and they don't care. So and then the bureaucrats, it's just If a Democrat comes in, a Republican comes in, it doesn't matter. Everyone knows this. It doesn't matter to them. They're just going to keep doing whatever they're doing. And then, if there's someone they really don't like Trump, they're going to take it upon themselves to do whatever the fuck they feel like, and obstruct that person.
Absolutely.
And sometimes if the person's truly crazy, that might not be bad. But in a situation where you have a president and it's like you're obstructing everything, then kind of like undermining the system a little bit.
Yeah, like what we got right now.
Just a little bit off topic, but politics-wise, obviously Trump is stomping all these people down. Biden's still puttering along. But realistically, Biden can't come back on Trump. He's not going to get any better than this. Mm-hmm. He's doing really bad. They're going to get through this primary thing, and they're going to swap him out on the convention. I mean, it's pretty obvious because, they keep Biden. If Trump makes it to the convention, then they'll be like, all right, well, Biden can't beat Trump again. Mm-hmm. We need somebody else to swap him out. And then they already have the campaign there in place. And Biden will back out. And what's he going to do? Fight them? I mean, he's losing. He's going to look at the poll numbers and be like, I could be a one-term president who graciously backed out, or I can go get stomped by Donald Trump, which he got away with not getting stomped the first time. So, of course, he's going to back out. Yeah, he's going to back out. He already got president. They're going to back him out.
They're going to back him out.
Yeah. They're going to back him out. And the person who's going to do it is going to be Michelle Obama.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, because, I thought that this woman didn't want it. I mean, she's in D.C. I guess she lives in D.C. But she didn't want to be in the public spotlight and all that stuff. But now her kids are grown. And Trump has activated her. And it's just a different woman now.
Okay.
I don't think she desperately wants to be back in the White House. But Trump in January 6th has changed Michelle Obama. And Michelle Obama is getting ready to tag out with Joe Biden. And if she goes up against Trump, she's going to torch him. And then we're going to be in for a whole...
I don't think so.
We're going to be in for a whole new scenario at that point.
No, she's not going to torch him. People are recognizing that this is currently a third Obama term. Yes, that's what they recognize. And he said that he would take one. If he would get one, he would take one. Damn well he's the puppet master, at least on this level. I'm not going to get into
my conspiracy. They don't even like each other. And I don't think he cares. I mean, I think he's happy that Trump's not in, but I don't think Obama really cares that much. Michelle, like I said, Michelle's triggered. I mean, she is ready to fight Trump. And
why?
I don't know where you think Donald Trump is going to beat Michelle Obama. She is going to people have seen all the garbage that has been happening, and the silent majority, the people who have never voted before. The majority of 35% of people? No,
it's not.
She's way more popular than he is. She is twice as popular. He is very unpopular, and the people that don't like him really don't like him. I mean, I don't know. This is what I see happening.
Don't like him. I mean, Michelle Obama.
No, she's much more popular than Trump. So I don't know what the military looks like under Michelle Obama as the first female president.
Have we seen what the military looks like under Biden? It's going to be the same exact thing. People are going to be leaving in droves. It's going to happen.
I think it's better with Michelle Obama than Biden, but she'll win a second one. So then 12 years, 4 years of Biden plus 8 years of Michelle Obama, it's not going to be the same military again. She'll be better than Biden. Biden is senile, so people are not going to sign up for a senile president. People will sign up for Michelle Obama. She's not senile.
No, she's not senile. Let's see if we can make her proud of America again for the second time in her life.
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand where she's coming from. But all right, any more politics talk? There's just been a lot happening with the primaries this week.
I think it's great that Vivek and DeSantis have dropped out and immediately gave Trump their endorsements. I think that really says a lot about their character. I'm glad to see that. I think they would be great cabinet picks when DJT wins. I think they need to be, Ron DeSantis, not so much as Vivek, but I think there still needs to be some vetting, and I hope that President Trump really has them vetted and not have the insider threats. The deep state cabal is a very real thing. It really, truly is. And that's why we have the rhinos that we have, because, it's like if all these issues were put on a ballot, they would know exactly where the people stand,
not leave it up. That's not how the system works. They're not going to let us choose.
I know they're not. They're not.
Because they can call that congressman out and be like, yeah, we don't like this.
Yeah.
And they can manipulate us through the media and stuff as normal Americans. So
as we see.
No, we're not totally free either. But the system wasn't designed for us. The system was designed for illiterate 18th century United States. It was not designed for this. So, it is what it is. The next interesting topic is about our American AI companies secretly negotiating with China on how to regulate AI. And first off, they're not going to regulate AI. So I don't even know why you're talking to them about it. If you want to talk about regulating AI amongst yourselves, like, okay, but like no reason to talk to them about it. And then on top of that, why is it a secret? Because you don't want your stock price or you don't want people to get up in arms about it, but people find out about it anyway. So that's gross. It's OpenAI, which we all know OpenAI, Sam Altman got fired recently, all that, ChatGPT, Anthropic, which is more like an image-based company. And so they went to a event organized by the Sheikh Group in Geneva in July and October of 2023 for secret regulation talks with Chinese officials, experts, whatever, in order to advance AI safety and international standards. So I don't like it. I'm not surprised. None of these companies, none of these people are loyal to our country. Nobody's thinking about our country or our government. In California, they don't think about the Pentagon. They don't think about the military. They don't think about any of that stuff. I don't know what exactly it is they're thinking about, but it's just not it. They hide behind fiduciary responsibility. They come up with some rationale. They hire some lawyer that'll write some justification for whatever it is that they want to do, and then they hide behind that. This is my lawyer told me to do. All the same tricks that every corporate guy has done forever, done by these people. So do you agree with the secret talks with China?
No, I don't. Absolutely, I don't. Because China's already more advanced than we are, I think, in that regard. With their, what do they call the identification?
Facial recognition.
Yes, the facial recognition, the body movements, everything that they've been doing to monitor and visualize isn't the right word, but tracking the movements of people and creating the AI that they currently have, which has helped them when we see the machine learning, or they're already more advanced.
Censorship, human tracking. The social credit or the social rating score, where like if you spit on the street and there's a camera, it's like, Marie's been spitting on the street, and then you want to go marry someone, and then their parents look you up and it's like, her social score is low. She's been spitting on the street. She doesn't pay her traffic tickets. She doesn't do this or that or whatever. Right. Hanging out in the wrong part of town, hanging out with the wrong person, going to a political rally, whatever it is, that your credit goes down.
Right. And we're on our way to that. We are on our way very quickly.
We do similar. I mean, they act like, they did it over there. But I mean, here, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's like on Twitter, you do something, you step on your dick, and all of a sudden everyone just torches you, and you're done. And a lot of people deserve it, and I get that, but it's everybody there, right? Like there's no hiding. They're
far more advanced than we are, and I don't think that we should be sharing any information that we have with any other country. There's absolutely no reason why. If we want to be a powerhouse, that's, it makes them smarter than us, because then they know everything that we know because we told them, and then they know everything that they know, which we don't, so that's just asinine to me. But we do need to limit AI ability to ordinary everyday citizens, because we don't understand it. There's no disagreeing with that. It's incontrovertible that it's not good.
You want to limit ordinary people's access. That's like gun control, right?
AI isn't a part of the Constitution. Where would it fit into that? I mean, remember, if you want to have a program, you have to pay a lot of money in order to have that really, really good program. So I think it should at least be limited to that. They only people who can afford it can access it. And then I also think, yes, it needs to be controlled because of the potential possibilities that AI can do. Then there are nefarious characters, threat actors in the world, and we have to be cognizant of that. So not everybody should be able to have it. And if they do have it, well, in order to get Windows, you have to have a registration key. So there's a database telling us who owns which system. If somebody were to Bank of America and Chase Bank right now, or recently flagged every account that had somebody purchase Trump or MAGA gear, if it showed that in any way, shape, or form, and they've provided it to employers, federal government, and I think that's nefarious in and of itself. But if they can take those two keywords, then they can take all the keywords that they would think that someone would create, like the details of building a nuclear bomb. I think they'd be able to take that kind of details and say, all right, well, we know who did this kind of search and, who's doing research on that kind of stuff. And I think there should be a database that shows, that flags, and then people start getting watched. But it's a censorship in a way, but we can't have nefarious characters just using AI willy-nilly and, being the next Timothy McVeigh.
Well,
So.
I can't really say that I agree with you, but I mean, it's dangerous, but both good guys and bad guys are going to have it. And the thing with AI, you need three things, right? The expertise, the data, and the resources, which usually means money. But because with money, you can buy computers. We're basically talking about computers. But if you're China and you're blocked from buying the computers, and you can't, so that kind of blocks them. But for the rest of us that can buy AI chips. Now, the data can be hard to come by. It can be expensive and stuff like that. But, people can get data to build AI, and especially these other countries. Expertise to build AI is out there. Now, we're in this second generation of AI. The first generation of AI, everyone knows how to do that stuff. I mean, it's just there's textbooks and anyone can just pick it up and just start. You can just write the code from scratch. It'd be very painful, but you could do it. Okay. And so there's not really any way to control that. But the second generation AI needs more powerful AI chips, the generative AI. And, it's a little bit harder to do and there's not as much about it, but it's becoming more mature too. So that's going to be out there. Now, the third generation of AI, should that research be classified or something like that? But really just classifying stuff, keep it from getting out anyway. I mean, they spy on us anyway. And if it's out there, they'll just figure it out anyway. So I don't know if it can be really controlled in that way. But this next generation of AI, that is going to be the integration probably of the quantum bits into regular AI. So it's this quantum accelerated AI algorithms that are going to make certain applications of AI much better, like image recognition. It won't affect every type of AI, but just generative AI, which is the new heat with the ChatGPT, that's not all of AI either. That's just generative AI is just one lane. So there's a lot of other stuff. And really the military, generative AI doesn't really help the military that much. I mean, there's some use cases and stuff, but the other stuff we need is this weaponry and robotics and, some other HPC simulations, stuff like that, which hopefully we're getting through DARPA and somebody somewhere. Hopefully they stop this stuff. It came out in the news. It doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm not really on the same page with them on everything, obviously, and neither are all of us. We're all going to disagree a bit. We talk about the chips, right? And you watch the show, right? So the NVIDIA GeForce 4090 Dragon chip, these Chinese companies and factories are evaluating to see if they can use it for AI because it's basically designed for video games. They're saying it's 5% slower. When I was researching this a couple weeks ago, it said it was about 10% slower, which is significant. But like I said, these generative AI models, this is what they really need these for. They need the more powerful chips. So it might be to the point where they can't really use them. But if they just put more of them together, they could probably still use them. And so this report coming out saying that just in December, one single Chinese factory repurposed 4,000 GPUs of these 4090Ds, and they essentially are changing the parts on them to make them more powerful, putting more cooling on them so they can run hotter. Because when they're doing this stuff, they're just running at 100%. It's like a race car, just going. And they burn them out. And the reason why they need them, it's not like your home computer that sits there for 7 years and you check your email on it every night. They're running 24 hours a day or running a lot and they wear out. It's just a worn out piece of shit and they have to throw them away and buy new ones. So that's why the supply thing is a big problem. Just one factory, 4,000 GPUs. And obviously there's many factories in China. This factory where these photos came out of is producing these for small public labs and then small AI labs because everybody in China needs this stuff. Everyone in America needs them too. But the military and the big companies, they've already stockpiled these chips because we were just selling them to them willy-nilly. And they knew this was coming. This is their winter. So they were stockpiling them. So the Chinese government has a huge stockpile of these chips. Probably last them for a couple years until hopefully they can hopefully start making them. But we'll be on to the next generation and the next generation. So they'll always kind of be a little bit behind us. But their hope is that eventually they catch up, or they might be a little bit behind us, but it's enough that they can still compete with us on this because they are at a disadvantage.
Right.
What do you think about us selling them these dumbed down chips and then they're, we're still selling. It's like selling them a gun that's semi-automatic and then they make it fully automatic and they're like, thanks, bro.
That's a great analogy. That sums it up. It's just more stupidity. But, I guess we make promises in the dark that nobody's listening to.
Do you like Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo and her efforts
to
block these chips? You don't like her? She's a Biden
I think the chips need to be blocked. So I do at least agree with it, but I don't think that they need to be given anything. China wants something, and China needs to build it.
But what happens when they're like, okay, you want the germanium and the other rare earth metals for your batteries and for all your stuff? Like, we're holding that back. Mm-hmm. So they've got us at the bottom of the supply chain, and we've got them at the top of the supply chain.
Yeah.
So then what? Then neither of us can get our chips, keep things moving, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
And that's part of the reason why they didn't go harder on these people, is because they control the rare earth metals, and we need those.
Quid pro quo that they have going right now. Tit for tat.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to keep making money. They have this problem, but yeah, I mean, it's like a standoff, and it's like a Mexican standoff.
Yep.
You know,
who's got the bigger dick?
Yeah, hopefully we've got the bigger dick. They're saying that these chip controls that Biden put in, Trump had some too, but Biden has put in more, especially on the AI chips. They're saying that they're good, and we've been talking about the loopholes, but they have to tighten up on the shell companies, right? Like, there are these loopholes, the shell companies renting through the cloud, getting them through these other countries, mainly the Middle East or other Asian countries, where the Asian country that we're friends with buys them in Vietnam, and then they just drive them over the border or something like that. We have to do something about that. And then they're also saying that it's easier to ban an entire sector. So if we maybe ban chips altogether, it would be easier to implement than trying to regulate how powerful the chips can be, which is kind of the strategy now. But like we talked about, then they could pull back on the rare earth metals to make us hurt. There's apparently a bipartisan law which is supposed to shore some of this up, called the Preventing Adversaries from Developing Critical Capabilities Act, which is a mouthful. But that sounds good. I don't know if it sucks or not.
I have to read that.
What do you think about all this news?
Well, it's good news. It's good news not good news per se, good news for covering these articles, but world's going to hell in a handbasket pretty quickly. I think once China gobbles up Taiwan, the U.S. isn't going to have any say about it. They're going to say, no, we control Taiwan. We have the chips now. Sorry, Charlie.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And the rockets aren't working right. The rockets are full of water. I mean, he's pulling back. His economy is shaky. I mean, if he did anything while his economy is not strong, he's screwed, because he's going to get sanctions, and then his economy is going to be like, boo! So he's kind of stuck on that. And then even if they go in, those factories are not going to survive. They're going to burn them all down. They're going to make them unusable. After
they get the goods that they need, or the information, and or the people to create, because that's how China works. And that's how our own CIA, FBI work. They snatch up all the people and snatch up all the documents, and they do with it how they want. So it's going to happen, unfortunately. I think it'll be very soon.
You think it's going to be soon? I don't know. I thought, I didn't think it was going to be soon, but I thought he was feeling confident. I do not feel like he's feeling confident right now. So I'm not super worried about it. And, they saw what happened to Russia, and they don't want that to happen to them. So I don't think they survive it. I mean, if what happened to Russia happened in China, there's going to be a revolution.
I don't know. They're afraid of their own military. Their own military already surpasses ours.
China?
Yeah. Doesn't it?
Well, I think they're beating us on hypersonics and drones. But we have advantages, but it all pertains to the fight that we're going to fight. If we're going to fight in their neck of the woods, then they have the rockets, and our aircraft carriers don't really make much difference. Obviously, they can't come fight us in California, but they don't have to. We have to look at it along the lines of the conflict as they probably will arise.
We see the military-aged males coming over the border. Unfortunately, there are Chinese, there's Pakistani, there's Honduran, there's Guatemalan, there's Mexican. I mean, they're coming from everywhere. But why are they coming from China?
They're infiltrating, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, if we go with Israel and go toe-to-toe with, either Yemen or Israel or Iran, I mean, what the hell are we doing here? I think if we go toe-to-toe, then we're going to have a lot of service members that are overseas, and they can't defend our own land. And that's when they're going to have their little cells popping up here and there. And you're going to see the Timothy McVeigh situations happen. It's going to happen. It's not going to be governmental buildings, because they're being funded by the government, unfortunately, in their money laundering schemes. But I think you're going to see small, soft targets are going to be hit, like you see in France. They don't want to hurt us. It's all in the name of humanity. No, it's not.
Let's move on from China. Very interesting. But the next topic is Elon Musk and Tesla. Mm-hmm. We have a Tesla stock owner on the line here.
It's not a lot, but hey,
you're in the game.
I am in the game.
So Elon apparently owns about 12% of Tesla because they had to raise money along the way. It was not his idea. He essentially bought it from these two guys that he was collaborating with. And then eventually he didn't like the direction they were going and he bought it and they left. And he's built it up and he's done a really good job, made mistakes. It's not perfect. He's got a bunch of other stuff going on, but it is his most valuable company. I mean, Tesla is his most valuable company. It's about $1 trillion company. It could go up more. It could definitely be the most valuable company in the history of the world. He's pushing it into an AI and robotics company because he's got this Optimus robot. And, the cars are basically robots and he's going to build other robots and stuff like that. He sees Tesla, vehicle for AI and robotics, not a car company. Now, cars being just one thing they sell. Right, as of right now, 95% of the revenue is cars. So he wants to have his stock position increased to 25% because he had to sell a lot of stock to buy Twitter. And he says he's uncomfortable growing Tesla to lead AI and robotics without more of a share.
Right.
He can't do what Mark Zuckerberg did with Facebook, where he has two class shares, or two classes of stock where he votes and nobody else does. That's how Mark Zuckerberg controls Facebook. He would like to do that, but he can't really do that right now. He probably wouldn't want to do it. He probably want to be more fair than Mark. Mark's kind of a totalitarian a little bit.
Yeah.
And so Elon says, I would be the leading voice, and he would. He'd be the largest shareholder in Tesla, but he could be overruled. If he was voted down 2-1, then he would be overruled, right? And so he's saying, look, if I'm way off base and everybody in the company doesn't like it, I can be overruled. But, this is my vision and I want to be, whatever. And I just finished reading his biography, Walter Isaacson, Elon Musk biography. That was very good. And I get it from him. People have been trying to tell him not to do this, not to do that, not to do it that way his whole life. And he's proved them wrong 80% of the time. And he's built these great products and these great companies. And he doesn't want to get bullied down in his own company that he essentially started because he doesn't have enough stock anymore, right? But he also doesn't want to buy more stock because he spent all his money on Tesla or on Twitter. And a lot of his money is tied up in these companies that he started. So in order for them to increase his share, they'd have to issue new stock to him, I believe, or do some kind of compensation package. He already had a $56 billion compensation package,
right?
Because he went all in on his bonus. It was all bonus, and he hit his bonuses, and so the company made a ton of money and is worth a ton of money, so he got a lot. But he wants to own more stock. This is more about a voting thing for him. I saw online there liberals are like, "Oh, the richest man in the world doesn't have enough money. He needs more Tesla." He wants to control the company and stuff like that. And he also, it's not just about running Tesla. He wants to introduce new products and drive it to the next generation. And he could just do that outside another company and own 100% of it. He's already got his Tesla stock. And he also talks about how institutional investors like Fidelity, they don't show up to work. Whereas he's going to meetings, he's busting his ass, he's solving problems. He's got the same amount of stock as these institutional investors and they don't do anything.
Right. 5% of the flow.
So what do you think? I mean, if your stock is diluted down in order to pay Elon up, you okay with it?
I would be okay with it because I trust Elon Musk. I really do. It's a weird thing for me to say because I really don't trust anyone, but I don't know. He seems to have a firm grasp on the direction of AI and the capabilities that it's going to have. And if he doesn't maintain some type of maybe proprietary control, then it could be very bad. I admire him for the foresight because I really think that's what he's thinking about is if I don't contain and maintain the control over this, it's going to be bad. That's what I see. But that's just, my conspiracy theorist side. But I like what he's done for the company. And a lot of people, if you read the comments in that article, it was like, geez, people, just slow down. If he's not rich enough. Yeah, well, I don't think you're open. Look outside the box. It's not just about money for him because he is the richest man in the world. And, I think he's thinking about humanity. So, I got to give it to him and I support him in this role. So he has created a lot of advancement for technology and AI. So, people are like, well, other people have, well, even if he just managed the people we have a lot more than we did before Elon. So 2 + 2 = 4. But I support him. I hope it goes well. And if I get diluted, well, I'm not rich anyway. And I don't plan to get rich off of my 12 Tesla stocks.
You mentioned Elon and AI, and Elon does care a lot about AI and thinks it's one of the most important things out there right now. OpenAI is this purely software generative AI, Tesla is the leading AI company in the world, but it exists in the physical world of AI, these robots, cars, the tangible AI world where it's affecting us in that way. He obviously doesn't like Sam Altman's direction with OpenAI. OpenAI was supposed to be a nonprofit, and Elon gave them $100 million donation in the beginning, but somehow along the way, they ended up taking money from Microsoft and essentially turning into, as Elon calls it, a maximum profit, like Microsoft appendage, basically. And Microsoft is like the epitome of the evil corporation.
Right.
So that's not great. And the AI was supposed to be open source, which is why the company is called OpenAI, but it's not open source anymore. So they're kind of going against the whole mantra that they started with. So Elon doesn't like. So Elon, I was reading an article today, which is not enough stuff, actually about 30 minutes ago. And Elon is saying that, or he has started a new AI startup called XAI, and they're halfway to raising $1 billion in funding. His goal is to raise $1 billion. And I just saw an article that said they're halfway there. And so Elon is going to be creating AI, and he wants to balance against OpenAI, Microsoft, and the other like corporate AI places. So that's interesting. And then Meta, Facebook, interesting, and Mark Zuckerberg, they have also one of the top AI teams in the world. And what they're doing is interesting, but they're going open source as well. So, I mean, Meta is controlled by Mark and is super corporate and super closed, but they're keeping the AI open, and they're doing a lot of research. They're putting their models out there and stuff like that. So they're going open. Meta is actually open AI at this point. And then Musk is coming in with whatever it is he's going to do. So, and then this XAI is kind of like, I don't think he's doing it to bully the Tesla stock and the Tesla board, but being like, he's already said, I'm going to stop like working at Tesla and you guys can just run it. Right. And I'm going to work in this. Basically, he's showing them you can work there. Okay. So, or he can work at any of his other companies too. So I don't know. I think he's doing a good job. He's doing his best. He's not perfect, but we'd be kind of fucked if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't have Starlink for the military and for Ukraine. We wouldn't have had any kind of disruption of the American auto industry, which was lagging and not innovative at all. They didn't want to bring these cars that he was designing. So, he's a great man in history, and he'll be remembered for all the stuff he's doing.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. As long as he doesn't go into the pharmaceutical land.
I don't think he's going to be a drug dealer.
Nah, that'll be his demise.
All right. So another issue that we got here is the 2 Navy SEALs that went missing off Yemen. They were boarding this Iranian smuggling boat. One of them fell off. The other one jumped in, tried to save him. They can't find either of these guys. And at this point, they're probably not alive. So that's not good. I think you would assume that their bodies would wash up somewhere eventually. So I think eventually we'll recover their bodies. This kind of sucks. The SEALs are saying that this type of mission is very dangerous and hard and whatever. So, I mean, hopefully it was worth it. They ended up sinking the ship and all the weapons and shit on it. I know they've got a mission over there and everything. I don't really see the whole point of getting sucked into this Yemen thing. And yeah, I don't know. And I also didn't really like that Biden wasn't talking about it. And when they asked him about it, he didn't know anything about it. I think there's a lot of things he doesn't know about, and this is one of them. But I think the president should be a little bit more switched on. I mean, if military people die or something, it's like you tell them and it's like, okay, it's sad, some guys died today. But like, these guys are missing, and
oh, they're having surgeries.
Like, you didn't even mention them. Like, the White House didn't mention them. I mean, no one's mentioning them. They asked one of the generals, like, can we get an update at the Pentagon? And he's like, I don't have one or whatever. I mean, It just shows that they don't care about these enlisted people. You know what I mean? It shows they don't care. And it shows that they don't understand what we're civilians. On the outside, what we care about. Like, we care about the missing Navy SEALs, you fucks.
Yeah.
Like, are you so stupid? They're in their own bubble. They come to this press briefing. They don't even know what the American people care about. Like, we see it on the TV. We wonder what the fuck is happening. Like, if they die, they die. But like, tell us what the fucking situation is. Be like, oh, we did 25 missions. We covered this many square, miles. Give us some fucking metrics or something, you assholes. Like, these people have families and kids and shit. And this general is just like, I don't know. I mean, fuck you. I don't like it.
Yep. Right there with you.
It's like nobody even says anything. I only saw one article about this saying like, why isn't the president talking about this? Why no one's even talking about it?
Yeah.
It's like
Don't
they
you wish you
expect
could
these
give
people
them
to just
wall-to-wall counseling?
shit on us. What?
Don't you wish you could give them wall-to-wall counseling? Make them ride a bike to work?
Well, so it's a civilian mindset. I mean, this is civilian shit. But like these top level generals, they basically are fucking civilians. I mean, they're not.
They're ring knockers. They're ring knockers. That's all they are. And that's how they got to higher places. They knew somebody. And like you've said before, they are going to retire from the military and they're going to be the Raytheon and the BlackRock and the Vanguard and anyone else that you can possibly throw in there. The money launderers, the ones who are going to get the contracts that are going to help with the wars. And that's why we need the wars, because these are the people who feed our coffers. These are the people who get us elected.
These generals, are they more physically fit than a civilian? Yes. Do they wear a nice looking military uniform? Yes. Do they go to work in a military building every day? Yes. They are around military people? Yes. But they are so fucking out of touch. They are closer to a civilian than a rubber meets the road military, enlisted or like a junior officer or something like that. They're just out in the stratosphere. Do you even think that they know these guys' names? I mean, even their last name.
Nope. No, they don't care.
Even if they heard about it and they notify these people, it's just oh yeah, 2 SEALs are missing. Oh, okay.
That's probably what it was, said in passing after a meeting because one's walking to another meeting to have a meeting about another meeting.
Some special interest shit. Yeah. I mean, this is politics.
I make my $15,000 a month. I don't give a shit.
No, they got their shit. Okay. So Houthis, we know about the Houthis. It's all over the TV. They've been shooting their missiles at the boats in the Red Sea and shooting their drones at the boats in the Red Sea. And then the Navy has been shooting them down. And then Biden warned them. They laughed at him. And then they did these airstrikes. And they said they blew up all these missiles and everything. But like, honestly, a lot of times when they do these airstrikes, it's like nothing there. And they're like, we struck all these sites. So like, if anyone's believing these military press people or these generals, you should reevaluate some things. But they say they struck all these sites and everything, and the next day they just shoot a bunch more rockets out there, and they're still going. And it's like, you're not doing anything. The general says the Houthis have clearly maintained some capacity. Okay, so like, what's the point of your mission anyway? They can't stop them. You cannot stop them from shooting those rockets, and the rockets are only going to get more sophisticated. They know they got you by the balls. Now you're out there in the Red Sea all exposed, close to land, trying to protect these fucking boats, and they got you. And then the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to do something on one of the boats, like kill one of our sailors or damage the boat, and the Secretary of Defense is going to get all mad. Then they're going to send the Navy SEALs into Yemen. They're going to do a couple of those. They're like, oh, you want to start coming in? You want to start coming in? Then they're going to be ready for them. Then on the 4th or 5th time you send those SEALs in, or whoever goes in there, they're going to ambush them. We're going to have dead bodies.
They're being Iran.
Shoot down their helicopter. It's going to be fucking Somalia 2.0, and you're just going to get sucked into it. And you're never going to win. Like, your strategy, not working.
Garbage.
And it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's garbage. But if we go under the cover of darkness, maybe it'll work. That's probably all they're thinking, honestly.
They know your playbook. Like, it's like a college team, and they have their playbook. It's like, we know what you're going to fucking do. Like, the Houthis wouldn't be doing this if they didn't already know what you're going to do. Like, they don't care. You kill a couple of these Yemeni guys, they don't give a fuck. Yeah.
It's going to be Iran. That's who's going to come down and help Yemen. They already said that they would. And Qatar is tired of it. And Saudi is tired of it. What's going on in the West Bank? The Middle East is in an uproar, the entirety of the Middle East.
I wouldn't say the whole Middle East, but...
Okay, well, not the government of the Middle East. Maybe you got onesie-twosies here and there. But the citizens, those are the ones that I'm in contact with. And I have citizen friends all over the Middle East because I lived there for a little while. And what they're reporting back to me and the links that they provide to me and the comments that you can translate, it's very ugly. And I'm to the point of where they're getting ready to insist that they close our bases overseas and protest.
Yeah, well, I mean, the people are not in control, but then that builds up political pressure. So, yeah, I mean, the region is in a state of agitation.
Yes.
There are conflicts, but it could be a lot worse. The question is it on the way to getting way, way, way worse? Or is it kind of just going to be at like a simmer here? or does it get better? Or is it like another Arab Spring?
I think it's going to be another Arab Spring. I think when Iran gets involved, it's going to get very ugly.
Maybe a lot of things could happen. I mean, Iran's got their protests, too, so they got their shit to deal with as well. The next article is interesting in that we have this interesting Google founder, Eric Schmidt, who in his post-Google career, very successful. This guy's probably a billionaire. He's one of these founders of Google. And he has been high up on these national security, AI commissions, technology, competitiveness, this kind of stuff. This same shit that I'm interested in, right? How are we competing against China, who is our adversary and who's coming after us? And, I have some technology that's a little better than ours, which we haven't experienced since a long time ago, since probably the Germans, World War II. And so he's built this bridge position for him between West Coast Silicon Valley, where he's from, and then the Pentagon. And he obviously is like masculine enough or whatever, or American enough for these military guys and for these top level politicians. And he has the Google brand and he's a rich man and stuff. Right. So he's been involved in a lot of this. They're saying that Eric Schmidt, after visiting Ukraine, he saw the drones in Ukraine. And Mason and I talked about the drones last week, and it's terrible over there with the drones. We're in this intermediate drone period here before it's all drones. And he's now leading a secret drone project. I don't know if it's public or private or what, but he's building something with these people and leading it, is what it says, in order to help us match Chinese capabilities. And this is what I've been saying. And this is what I've been saying since back when I worked in the government, is that they have this drone shit. And the CIA knows it, and the Department of Defense knows it, and they don't tell us that, but they are losing this shit. This is why billionaire Eric Schmidt, California royalty, is spending his time hanging out with military officers and building secret drones so that we can match what they have, because they already have something that is scaring the shit out of these guys. And they won't tell us, obviously, because they're liars, and they think that they're protecting everything because they obscure the truth from us, which is exactly the same thing you did with us on Afghanistan.
Yep.
I'm out there up on missions and you're not telling us the truth. This might be related to the DoD replicator program, which was launched by Kathleen Hicks and is designed so that the government can buy lots and lots and lots of these drones, because they saw what happened in Ukraine. They've seen the CIA assessments. They know that China has this shit. And we need to have a major industrial capacity to be able to build weaponized drones at a high rate, because they're basically disposable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't come back. They blow up and they don't come back, or they get taken down. And these wars are going to take a long time. It's not like boom, 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 and you're done. Look at Ukraine. We've already been going for a couple of years. So Eric Schmidt, what do you think about his service helping out the country here?
I appreciate his enthusiasm. Has he been vetted, or is it just about his pocketbook? Because there's a difference. What's his intent? Is it really to help American military, or is it just to have a monopoly on who builds the drones for the army, like who builds the helicopters and who builds everything else? Is that what it's going to turn into? What kind of people does he have working for him? Have they been vetted? What's the team comprised of? And I know they don't have to tell me because I'm not, a 4-star or anything, but who's vetting these people? And, why are they part of secret meetings? And I had a TSSCI. I wasn't invited to these meetings. I know the need to know, but why is just this insider or outsider being welcomed right in? Because of the money that he has, for one. 2, because of the contracts that he probably helped negotiate with the government so that we could have our cloud computing and so forth and so on. It's a guy who needs to be vetted. I don't trust him. I think it's a great idea that we have this kind of offensive, because drones is the way to go. We've talked about it for probably 4 years. When we saw in what was it that really got me was the way that they can program them to fly in swarms and go in specific places. Like we've seen from France, I think they had a drone show the year of COVID. And it was like, I saw it and I went, whoa, that's the future of our military. That's exactly what I thought, because you just go like this. Okay, there's nobody there. Whoop, swoop. Yeah, bomb, done. It's easy. It is relative. I mean, come on. In a nutshell, Barney style, there's your bluff on drones.
Yeah.
But we need somebody to build it, somebody that has the money, who's going to invest in it. And Eric wants to be that guy. Vet the guy. Just vet the guy and his team. Because they could just go Bradley Manning style and say, here you go, China. Here you go. Or Bo Bergdahl. Later, I'm going to China.
Yeah. I mean, they could sell us out. I don't know. I mean, I see him as probably not a threat since he's a billionaire. I don't think they picked him because of his money, because the government has all the money they need and they don't get money from him. I think they picked him because he has like cachet, because he is a billionaire. So like, oh shit, this guy's for real. And sure. Google, and they know Google, and he's of their generation. Like he's like the age of a general.
We didn't think they'd recruit a professor from Harvard either. We're talking Harvard. Yeah,
I think a professor from Harvard, like a technology professor at a university, is doing research on like leading edge, like research, like they're writing fucking research papers and stuff. Like to have a person who understands technology, who can build something out of nothing, who can implement in the real world and solve problems and stuff. Harvard professor, Stanford professor, there might be some, but like realistically, they're researchers. This guy is a doer. He's built a company, led projects, I assume, and he's not a researcher. So, I mean, I like that he stepped up. I mean, there's other tech leaders that have stepped up and been on these commissions and stuff like that, but he seems like, to me, he seems like he's motivated, and I'm sure they've checked him out. He's probably got higher security clearance than both of us, obviously, but
probably.
Is he going to sell us out to China? I doubt it. I mean, he already has billions of dollars, and what does he need more from? I don't know. So,
and does it really cost billions of dollars to build a drone army? Billions and billions? Could that be more cost effective? What are they going to put on them?
We spent like $9 billion on the Afghan National Police.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
training the Taliban. I think
we could spare a few billion for the AI drones. At least they won't run away. Another interesting article that we're talking about is Ukraine's new secret weapon. And the Ukrainians apparently have some sort of secret air defense weapon. They've been able to destroy 26 Russian helicopters in one day, which is a lot. They've also, a couple of weeks ago, shot down 3 Su-34 Russian fighters, which also was a lot. Basically, whatever this weapon is out on the battlefield, and they're kind of like, they're not saying what it is, but they're letting us know about it. They say, partners have provided us with some long-range weapons. I won't say what, but our partners will understand. With it, we destroyed 26 helicopters in a day and 12 planes that took off and attacked with missiles against which these systems were working. We destroyed 12 at once. So this is obviously a translation, but I don't really know what it is. I mean, maybe it's like Stinger missiles? I figure they already had like Stinger missiles, stuff like that.
They have the ATACMS. They have the ATACMS.
They're shooting out helicopters. That's to pound the ground.
Right.
But for these helicopters, and then they're shooting down the fighters. Like the helicopters, I could see Stinger missile. Yeah, that'll take the helicopter down. Maybe it's like some new version of a Stinger missile from Afghanistan in the 80s, that kind of shoulder fire type thing. But I don't know. I mean, it might have come not from the United States. It might have come from one of the other countries or somewhere. I don't know. But they're kicking ass with whatever the fuck this shit is. So crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
26 healers in one day.
I'm sorry?
26 in one day. I mean, that's a lot.
Well, it absolutely is a lot. But can we confirm? Or is that just what's being reported? Because there's a lot of reports coming out of Ukraine that they're winning. And obviously they're not.
They might be exaggerating, but there's obviously some new weapon out there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
tearing it up.
We provided. Have you ever heard of the ATACMS?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's the ground missiles.
Yeah, but they are also long range missiles. They can go up to 190 miles, I think was the distance. But why wouldn't those be sufficient to do this? And not a lot of people know about them. I mean, they do exist. We surprised them with a birthday present last summer by providing them a few of them. But are they one of the ones that went missing?
Well, they're like artillery. They're shooting these helicopters out of the sky, so they need a different weapon for that. This is an air defense weapon. Patriot missile, but they already have Patriot missiles, right?
Yes.
Like, helicopters makes me think it's some sort of like man-portable. Like then you've got the planes.
Yeah.
And they shot down these, like a command plane, and they've shot down and hit some of these spy planes too, which are very expensive because they have all the sensors on them. Mm-hmm. So they've been doing some damage to the Russian air forces. Also they were doing a pretty good job against the Russian Navy as well. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll have more, weapons, but this doesn't change anything.
Absolutely nothing except for Ukraine, because they don't have any men there anymore. They've lost 1 million men. Fathers, sons. I know, but they are just pulling them off the street. They're in hiding because their wives are hiding them. It is for real.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the same on both sides. They're both getting to the bottom of the barrel, and it's the end of the war. This is like the end of it.
Yeah, the end of our money. It's the end of our money, our bankrolling.
Well, I think the money is going to get turned back on, but I'm not sure how. But
to Israel,
they're going to do something for the border. They're going to do something for Israel. They're going to do something. I mean, they love giving.
Here's your chump change.
There you go. Another interesting topic here, which I think we'll all find very interesting, is a proposal from Republican Senate candidate Scott Parkinson, who has military in his family, but is not in the military, supports the America First agenda. He's running in Virginia. I don't know who he's running against or whatever, but his plan here is to abolish federal taxes for active duty military and veterans who make up to $2 million a year. He does mention that taxation is theft, and he estimates that the proposal will cost $383 billion a year in lost government revenues, but he thinks that it'll revitalize the veteran community and everything like that. Obviously, this would be a boon to the veteran community. If you're a veteran, you essentially are getting more money for your past service because you've already done your service, but now you don't have to pay taxes. So your effective income essentially goes up by 30% or so.
Yep.
And if you're a wealthy person and you're making $999,000 a year, then you're not paying taxes on anything. That's a lot of money. Like that's more money than you made in the military when you were young.
Yeah, that's not necessary. I would even bring that number down further because these people shouldn't be getting. The people who have $2 million, they don't need Social Security. They don't need Social Security. You got $2 million? Come on. Come on. Give that up for the people who can't get that money. And I'm not talking about the border jumpers. I'm talking about American citizens.
So,
like my
income
mom.
in 1 year, income of 1 year of $2 million. So it's kind of what.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely asinine. No, that's way too much. You don't need Social Security. You don't need it. You don't need any retirement, pensions, Medicare, Medicaid. With $2 million, if you can't budget for yourself for the rest of your life, that onus has got to be on you. But the people who never worked a day in their life, like my mom, barely ever worked. My dad was the sole breadwinner. She gets pittance. Absolutely, like $1,800 a month, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. And, because she really didn't work and she gets what was left from, whatever she gets from my dad. I don't know how it all works, but.
Yeah, system was not set up very well.
No, it's absolutely stupid. And the people who make the money don't need that. Donald Trump should have passed that when he was first in. So the wealthy should not. But okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're frustrated. I get it. All right. So what do you think about the plan? Do you think it should be changed? Do you think it's feasible?
I think it needs some tweaking, but I think it's absolutely feasible because really $350 billion?
$383 billion is his estimate, but it could be more.
Right. Okay. Well, I think it needs to be tweaked. I don't think that my brigadier general, who is making $13,257 a month on active duty, he should have to pay 10%. And then the lieutenant colonels or the colonels and so forth and so on. I think it should be like maybe based on rank.
Benefit the officers a lot more.
Yeah, because
it would benefit all of them. But.
Yeah, they really, really do. And they're the ones who end up leaving the force and going and being the CEO to Raytheon. So they just don't. If you can't budget, honey, you have issues. If I can budget on $3,000 a month, you can budget on your $12,000.
All right. So my take on this is, I do see that it could be beneficial in some ways. I see the active duty because that's kind of like a shadow pay increase, right? You don't tax them and then all of a sudden they're making more money and they need to make more money. So whether you I don't really personally care whether you raise their salary and you still tax them or you just stop taxing them and they just have more money in their pocket. But in order for us to continue this military thing and for us to have the best military, more money needs to be going in their pockets. The reason why it's not and why it goes in these weapons programs is because it's easy to steal money from the weapons programs, but that payment going to the E5 goes directly from the treasurer to them. There's no middleman. There's no way for the corporation to take a little bit out to make 10 or 30% on that. So that's why the military salaries are never really rising while the weapons programs always go up.
Well, that's also because we're paying SGLI because we didn't drill for 6 months and then we get it all taken out on the very first paycheck.
SGLI, yeah. So I could see doing it. If you can't get the pay increase in there, I could see doing it for the active duty, and it coincides, right? Like if you want to keep not paying taxes, then stay in the military.
Yeah. Well, I think reserves and guards should get that as well, not just the active duty, because I mean, coming from the reserve component, seeing the XO and the commander having to go in on weekends where they're not supposed to be working, and it's one weekend a month, 2 weeks out of every year, and they're going and putting in 40 hours a week because they have a command that they have 8,000 soldiers that they have to work with. And I know it always comes down to the numbers, the whole numbers game of did you do this? Did you do that? Who's the good soldier and the bad soldier? And, your name is on the bad list hanging up in the command suite. But these guys are putting in, guys are putting in so much time and effort into something that they're only getting paid just a fraction of the amount that they deserve because they're working 20 plus hours a week for their command. And, my husband, let's just take him for instance. He won't be a battalion commander because he has a full-time job and he knows that it's going to turn into a full-time job, full-time hours. He's like, I don't care if I ever make colonel because I don't want that obligation and responsibility for next to nothing pay. But if they have recruiting problems, this is definitely a surefire way that they could get people to come on board. You won't pay taxes anymore. Come on in, specialist.
Well, the people in the military, especially the younger people, don't make that much money anyway, so it's not going to hurt the government that much. It would make a difference for them, and I think it would help, and it would make them feel good, especially if you don't like taxes. You're like, man, I'll serve in the military. I'm paying these taxes and shit. And you kind of feel like you are paying a tax in the military because you get treated like shit, and you have to do shit that no one else has to do. You know what I mean? But you pay taxes the same as everyone else. So I kind of get that. Now the veterans, once you're out, you're wheeling and dealing in Northern Virginia, you're doing contracts, you got your own business, you're investing, you got your accountant, you can play games with this, you know what I mean? And that's where, especially the officers, they're going to be making a lot more money when they get out. They go to Harvard Law, all of a sudden they're not paying taxes. Or, you could do something where it's like, I start a company and it's like a $500 million company, but they only pay me $999,000 a year in salary, but I don't pay taxes on anything because it's all in my company until, later when I'm retiring or something like that. There's all kinds of ways to game it that would create this huge loophole. And then you'd have people joining the military just so that when they got out of the military, they didn't have to pay taxes. Then they could be a hedge fund manager or something like that. And they just pick the stupidest job that they would keep them safe or whatever. And they would just do that and then roll out as like a strategy, game the system. So
good point.
I don't know about the veterans thing, and I also don't know about the active duty thing, but they do need more money because the force is imploding, and there's just not enough money going to these young people to make it worth their while for what they're getting themselves in for.
Yeah. Last
article is the inspirational story of U.S. Air Force active duty officer Madison Marsh, 22 years old. Graduated from the U.S. Air Force Academy, just like Mason, June 2023 this year. So she's 22 years old. She is accepted to become a military pilot. She is also doing a 2-year master's in public policy at the Kennedy School of Foreign Government. Someone's probably going to be a politician someday. She's interested in her career of doing cancer research, early detection, pancreatic cancer. Her mother died in 2018 of cancer. And so she wants to work in the science of that. And she's a smart young woman who went to space camp when she was 13, pilot when she's 16, and is one of the most beautiful women in America at 22, and also decided to join the Air Force. So this was kind of clickbait this week. I was debating on whether to put this in here or not, because I like to only put in news that matters. But I do think this is military and veteran news. This is a big thing that she won. There have been other military women that have been in this pageant. But at the same time, too, I don't really see what it does. Is it like a feel-good story? There's this like remarkable young woman out there. It doesn't really change anything about the military. Hopefully the military doesn't ruin her life like it's ruined all these other people's. But, she's an officer and pilot, so she'll be well treated, I assume.
She's going to be a target, but I think she seems mature enough. She doesn't seem like the kind of person who's going to change the world. I think it's admirable, what she has done. I love what she said in regard to she serves our nation in a military capacity, but also as Miss America, she serves America's community. And, those do go kind of hand in hand. They do, but they don't. But she's serving in two different aspects where it's admirable for a young lady to care enough about her military and her community and want to represent them in both capacities. She's obviously smart. It's not, because she's cute or she worked her way to the top. She's done all of this on her own, and it's admirable. And I hope that she uses this in a very positive way, that this is a benefit she could be the benefit to the Air Force. But did she make herself a target? We will see in the future, because there are mean-spirited people of every type, size, gender, bearded and non-bearded, that will probably find a reason to attack her because misery loves company. So they've got to beat her down. There's going to be people in her command that are going to give her a hard time, but I hope she uses this to a positive and doesn't sell out, doesn't sell her soul, doesn't become a mouthpiece, except for humanity and that alone. So I commend her. Let's see where she goes from here.
She might be the Secretary of Defense someday. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And she's basically on this track to be a general. They're obviously going to fast track her and all that.
Absolutely.
So she'll be maybe some Air Force general someday.
Yep.
I don't know. Is she going to turn into a piece of shit? I don't know.
Hopefully not. We'll see if she goes the political route or not.
Well, I do think she'll probably get out of the military. I don't know if she'll go all the way to general. Most people who have something better to do get out.
Right. And this is going to open a lot of doors.
Yeah. She could do anything or whatever. So we'll see. She's young and she's got her career ahead of her. So we'll see. But pretty strong run for her. But we'll see what happens.
Yep. Right on.
All right. Well, that's the last story this week. So thank you very much, Marie, for making it happen and participating, contributing so much. So do you have any final stuff you want to talk about? Say goodbye.
No, I don't have anything final. I've got all these things floating in my head, but I don't want to get you silenced and censored. So but thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. We don't need the band magnet back. All right. That's it. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back next week. I think Dibs is up. So we'll see Dibs next week. Bye, everybody. Thanks.